Steelix is a Pokemon that has a pretty great legacy when it comes to the TCG. Like a Gengar or a Gardevoir, the majority of the cards printed for Steelix are at least decent. Even at its worst, it's still somehow one of the only usable Shining Pokemon. And despite being a 30-foot long snake made out of metal and rocks, it still only weighs 882 pounds. I don't know, Pokemon, man. As many of you probably already know from watching my other videos on the channel, Steelix was one of the best Pokemon in multiple formats, in Rocket On, Base Neo, Neo On. But where did it go from there? Did Steelix remain one of the best Pokemon in future formats? Well, let's take a look at every single Steelix card printed thus far and judge it based on usability, artwork, and lasting impact. The first Steelix card printed, and probably the most well-known Steelix card, is from Neo Genesis. 110 HP and the ability to fully utilize special metal energy, this thing was incredibly hard to knock out, especially with the tools available in the formats where it was played. It had a weakness that was easily covered, and it could really just be paired with anything. Across formats, there was Steelix with Babies, Steelix Kingdra, Steelix Sneasel, Steelix Damage Swap, Steelix Knocklock, Steelix with Gators. I mean, you get the idea. This card was so good that it was just paired with every other archetype that was good, just smashed together, and it still worked. So if you want to learn more about the versatility and specifics of this card, just go to the DrunkShuckle channel and search Steelix. Right now, I've already got 6 Steelix decks on there. It is a card that I love playing and hate playing against. Next we have a Japanese promo Steelix. This is one of the unnumbered promos. It was distributed via Pokemon Card Trainers magazine in March of 2000. It's still high HP, can utilize special metal, and its attack costs are much cheaper. Metal Crash is actually a pretty great haymaker attack, but it is inconsistent, so it's really more usable as an alternative to Murkrow for trapping your opponent. This Steelix with a metal energy on it would be pretty hard to knock out, so you could double gust out one of your opponent's Pokemon that you want to trap in the active position that won't be able to attack you back for a while, and if so, won't be able to deal very much damage. That way you can just continuously use Rumble on it over and over, deal that chip damage until it's knocked out. Or just alternate between using Metal Crash and Rumble and just kind of hope that your Metal Crashes actually go through. So because you have to flip that coin, it's not very consistent. Just understandable for an attack that's dealing 50 damage for 1 energy. But because of that, the Genesis Steelix is probably still preferable to using this thing. Neo Destiny Shining Steelix. Now, this is a basic Pokemon with 90 HP, and if you have the 2 metal energy attached to it in order to use its attack, it is still serving as a tank. Most of the Shining Pokemon are terrible. They have such ridiculous energy requirements for their attack that they're absolutely unusable. However, this Shining Steelix might be the most usable one out of all the Shining Pokemon, except for maybe Shining Raichu in a Rain Dance deck. What makes it at least kinda usable is that its energy requirements are the same as an Onix and Steelix deck. So it's kinda splashable in something like a Steelix Kabutops deck that is using metal and fighting energy. It's still not great because of that coin flip that Crushing Earth requires, but it still gets mad props for being at least usable for a Shining card. Most Shining Pokemon cards in the Neo block are just god-awful. So hats off to Steelix for trying to be more than collector's bait. In the Japanese exclusive Versus series set, we got Jasmine Steelix, which again is a basic Pokemon with 80 HP that can utilize special metal energy, so it's still pretty tanky. And some very simple yet still charming artwork. I just wish there was more of Steelix in that frame. It just seems like it's swimming in an ocean of holofoil. Most Pokemon in the Versus series aren't really competitively relevant, but Steelix gets pretty close, mainly because it can utilize those special metals. For a Pokemon this tanky, Bind is actually a pretty great attack. It's like another Jungle Lickitung, and Iron Tail can potentially deal infinite damage. So if you're good at coin flips, this can be both a great stall card and a fantastic attacker. The Versus series also had Bruno Steelix, which just pretty bland, not as good. The tankiness of the card is limited by the energy cost of Rock Smash, otherwise it might still be a decent card. Man, Aquapolis has some great art. I love to see Steelix depicted as an actual snake that has to crawl on the ground rather than just an inexplicably levitating thing. But if I had just one request of Steelix cards, it's that they would just get rid of these coin flips. I hate these all or nothing coin flips, and it's even worse when you have an attack like Iron Smash, where you have 3 different coin flip effects. Just say it does 50 damage. Let attacks exist without coin flips, Pokemon TCG. I do really like this Steelix as a spread attacker, but in that sense, it is outperformed by other cards like a Dark Ursaring. And then I just don't even want to have to deal with Iron Smash coin flips after I've already spent 4 turns attaching energy to this thing. Skyridge Steelix is definitely the most grunge Steelix you're gonna see. It's got a super useful Pokebody which transforms any energy attached to Steelix into Steel Energy. And this is before basic Steel type energy cards, so you could still utilize Special Metal in order to get that defense boost. But you didn't have to, which means that you could splash this Steelix into a deck of any type. But really only for squeeze, because again, Metal Tail is an all or nothing attack for 4 energy, which is stupid. If you've attached 4 energy cards to a Pokemon, then you shouldn't have to flip a coin just to see if the attack goes through. Even if you're playing this Steelix in a base Skyridge Rain Dance deck, getting those 4 energy down just to use Metal Tail is still a complete waste. Even though you could do it in 1 turn, having to flip that coin means that it's not a good attack, period. I give these Steelix cards grief for being just short of greatness. Not all Steelix can be as great as the Neo Genesis one, but one word that I will be using a lot for Steelix cards is that most of them are solid. They're not like game-breaking cards, but they're not bad either, and this Steelix card from EX Sandstorm is a solid card. It has a high cost for both attacks, but its rage attack plays into that. As you're setting this Steelix card up, you're going to be taking damage, which sets it up for a powerful rage attack once you have those 3 energy attached, or if you're going for the full 4 energy, it's a pretty great spread attack. It can still serve as a heavy tank, and no coin flips. No coin flips for those attacks. With EX Team Rocket Returns, we got a Dark Steelix that is both Dark and Steel type. And again, this is just a solid card. Nothing game-breaking about it, but it is a very usable card. Energy Link is going to deal a decent amount of damage for 2 energy, but will also allow you to pull Special Dark Energy and Special Metal Energy out of your discard, attach it to Dark Steelix, and fully utilize the effects of either or both. Attach the special metals to make Dark Steelix into a more traditional, defensive, tanky Steelix, or you could go full all out with special darks to make Heavy Impact a much larger damaging attack, or mix and match to suit your needs. Now let's talk about Steelix EX from EX Unseen Forces. Good lord, if you thought that any prior Steelix was hard to knock out, let me introduce you to Steelix EX. 150 HP, can't be poisoned, 2 resistances. Actually, this card holds the record for the most energy symbols at the bottom of a card. So retreat cost of 5, 2 resistances, and 2 weaknesses. There's a lot going on down there. This card is actually one of only 4 to have a retreat cost of 5, so it's tied with 3 other cards for the highest retreat cost. Those other 3 being Golem EX, Wailord EX, and Mamoswine. Poor Golem EX, it doesn't have anything going on. Steelix EX was part of the BLS archetype, which stood for Blastoise, Lugia, Steelix, and this was an incredibly difficult deck to play against. Everything had such high HP. Blastoise EX Energy Rain Power could accelerate energy onto Steelix. Because there were so many forms of Rainbow Energy at the time, you could alternate between Metal Charge and Mudslide. The greatest challenge against this deck is building up a Pokemon that's powerful enough to deal a decent chunk of damage to a Steelix EX before it gets loaded up and just mudslides your shit. Nothing was safe from Mudslide, and that's the reason that this deck dominated so much of the format, is Mudslide on Steelix EX was so difficult to contend with. Such powerful attacks off of such high HP Pokemon, and you could get set up a turn or 2 faster thanks to Blastoise EX. On to Diamond and Pearl. This Steelix isn't great. It's not terrible either. Again, it's just a solid card. It can deal some decent damage, can tank some hits, but it's not gonna be game-breaking by any account. At this point, there were much better Steel types in the metagame, and Infernape was everywhere. Infernape could OHKO this thing, and so, of course, it's not gonna see very much play. Stormfront Steelix, on the other hand, did have some pretty niche play because Outbreak Power could spread damage around, and Iron Tail could deal massive amounts of damage. Again, you could hit for potentially infinity, but mainly Outbreak Power could be very useful in getting a lot of bench knockouts, and because Steelix had so much HP and you could take turns to stack a bunch of energy on it, that could be really devastating. If you were at a Stormfront pre-release and pulled a Steelix, you were in for a very good tournament day. Rising Rivals, Byron Steelix. Guess what? It's solid. You can set yourself up for a turn 2 squeeze after using Mend. It's a basic Pokemon with 110 HP that could potentially deal 80 damage on turn 2. It's solid! Unleashed Steelix was a theme deck card and basically just an advertisement for Steelix Prime, which, much like Byron Steelix, had a double colorless attack that could accelerate energy onto Steelix to set it up for a much bigger attack. The problem here is that for 5 energy, I would hope that you can deal more than 100 damage. Even with discarding a Stadium, just a Hundy off of 5 energy is not good. They should have really stepped up Gaia Crush's damage in order to let this Steelix compete with other Prime cards. This carries over to the Plasma Free Steelix, which does have a little bit more HP, but its attack costs are just too expensive for what you're getting from them. And this is in a format where you have a lot faster Pokemon that can deal damage a lot more efficiently than this Steelix. This same set had the Plasma Flareon that could absolutely destroy the Plasma Free Steelix, and this Flareon was its own archetype, so you were gonna run into it. In Steam Siege, we got Steelix EX, a basic Pokemon with 180 HP, so it makes sense that its attacks are so expensive. While Iron Tail could potentially deal mountains of damage, it wasn't worth the risk for such a high energy attack. Wild Edge could be pretty good in Steel Acceleration decks, but very few of those decks actually use Steelix. I don't actually recall any of them using Steelix EX, which I do like the aesthetic of its alternate art, but that's completely lost on the Megas. There is a lot going on here, a lot of different colors, a lot of different words and layers of artwork. It's ugly and jumbled, and Canyon Axe isn't that great for 5 energy. Just get them out of here. Celestial Storm, the return of the Neo Genesis Steelix, but beefed up. As with every reprint, you really get to see the power creep. This Steelix has 80 more HP, Tackle does a little more damage, but Tail Crush goes from doing a potential 50 damage if you hit the coin flip to doing 120. Recreating the staple card that was Neo Genesis Steelix makes me very happy, but even with the additional beef, it's not forming its own archetype or anything. This is mainly for collectors. And in that case, go after the Japanese silver bordered one. It looks much better. In the Unified Mind set, we got our first fighting type Steelix, the first one to represent its rock typing rather than the steel typing. But the downside with this thing is that even with Ground Stream accelerating the energy onto Steelix, Gigaton Shake is still way too expensive. I think that the damage output for Gigaton Shake is actually great, but the fact of the matter is, you're only going to be able to use it once at the most. Even with the energy acceleration, even with the high damage, you're still having to either wait a turn between Gigaton Shakes, or you're having to bench the Steelix and then put it back in the active position. I think this card would be a lot better if you reduce the damage of Gigaton Shake down to something like 180 or 200 and then got rid of that second effect. It wouldn't be game breaking or anything, but it would make Steelix a lot better. More like the Lost Thunder Steelix, but even it doesn't get to attack for 170 without having some kind of an unfortunate side effect. And finally, we have the latest Steelix card to be printed from Cosmic Eclipse, and this one surprisingly has a mechanic we haven't seen on a Steelix before. It's a very interesting gimmick in Thumping Fall, where you discard Pokemon from your hand that have a retreat cost of 4, and you're able to deal 50 damage for each Pokemon discarded. Now, I haven't been able to find any information on if this Steelix formed a new archetype or how that archetype has performed competitively, but this seems right up my alley. I love a gimmicky deck that is kind of unexpected, and Thumping Fall sounds great. For those of you that are more current on the TCG competitive side, let me know down in the comments if Thumping Fall Steelix is its own archetype and how it actually plays out. This one even got one of the trainer full arts with Jasmine Steelix. All of these modern trainer full arts look fantastic, and I'm glad that Steelix got one. If you like the Steelix artwork that I've used for the background in this video, that was provided by channel regular Ru. I'll provide a link to the artist Instagram down in the description if you want to see more. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite Steelix card is. What kind of success have you had with Steelix decks? Do you have a favorite artwork? Stay tuned to the channel for more vintage Pokemon TCG content, and until next video, bye.